Everyone depends on those 7 parts, and that is why everyone has a particle in those beings, deriving the bodies from those the formation of the bodies. Everyone depends on those 7 beings to live. The immunization care to transform those 7 particles, which are in those 7 deformed beings, to their natural state, up here, then, it will form the true body. After them gathered, the living being will be immunized. Already with all particles, here on rational plane, forming the true body. When comes the extinction of that body there, yet there, through the immunization you will see everything, as you know. An immunized one is completed of everything, of the crystalline lights that increases every time more. The reading, the knowledge, is simply an instruction of the beginning and the end of everything, definition and formation of everything. After the living being becomes immunized, he sees everything, complete and perfect in everything. Notice how many wasted steps for those who do not know rational immunization, which everyone needs. So, the dominant currents dominating everyone for a fraternal junction, through rational immunization. Everyone vibrating, everyone eloquent, everyone touched by the knowledge that goes on stirring with everyone's feelings, elevating them over all points of view, to the benefit of the own living beings. The living beings happy and joyful, by the certainty they have of being more right than all, of the true path. The rational base very different from esophurids and xerophurids, it means the spiritism in confusion with itself and its belongings. All human beings are criminals. And so, the sacrilege is the great epopee of the world. The world, for those who already know the beginning, is a sacrilege due to the crimes that, since the beginning of the deformation, were committed. Everyone is criminal. Every human being is a sacrilegious. Good one only by name. Everything depends on the hour, on the moment, for the goodness disappears. Due to being criminals it is that you are sufferers, due to being criminals, it is that you are there condemned to death, exposed to all illnesses, subject to all evil. Due to being criminals, it is that the suffering is reigning, you live there in that hell, in the fire, day and night. Fire during the day, which is the sun, and fire at night. Due to being criminals, it is that nature itself revolts against its inhabitants with earthquakes, volcanoes, lightning, storms, wild beasts, incurable diseases. Finally, due to being criminals, you are there, exposed to everything which is evil. And how did you begin to be criminals? When you entered the part of the plane that was not yet ready to enter in progress. It was then that you took the first steps. You kept progressing on this part that was not yet ready, and that is why it started to detach from the part that is up here, and it kept descending. This is the origin of you being in this hole, looking at up here, at the sky, as it is said, and, with time, your bodies deformed until their extinction, forming, with time, other bodies, which are the origin of the living beings. You are criminals, you were born there to suffer. Suffer the newborn babies, suffer the children, who never did any evil to anyone, suffer the bad ones and suffer the good ones. Why? Because you all are criminals, you all are sacrilegious. Now, the false prophets, who do not know anything, think that life be according to their ideas, their imaginations, deceiving themselves, deceiving the others. The false prophets claim that suffering is a probation, as if the good and the bad ones existed. Because all are criminals, as you already are aware and know that you are sacrilegious matter, criminals who cannot understand each other or focus on your duties, in any way. Today you understand each other, tomorrow you are misunderstood, because you are all criminals. It is there the reason of the suffering of all. It is there the world and the reason of the hurricane of anguish, the reason the world is a nut's house. The sacrilege is in the own human, in this mass itself that, due to it being a criminal, creates the poison, the beasts, and the decomposition of everything. Everything that seems to be good, it is just appearance and nothing else, and that is why everything passes. Notice that the formation is of criminals and justice on earth, how it is presented. The human being cannot be tamed or appeased, but get used to. Life is a street organ that plays what you want to dance, but here, the music is rational, the dance here is rational, and the street organ is rational. It plays only one thing, only one dance, because which is rational is above all the vibrations, all worries, all thoughts, it is above everything and everyone. One knows what he is saying, one knows what he is doing, and does not play with the miseries of anyone, that by nature, you are untamable, because the beasts cannot be appeased, they only get used to. The human being cannot be appeased or tamed, he gets used to the habits, with the things taught to him, that he learns and knows. Therefore, notice the world's desolation, which proves more than anything what I say. A world where one only sees science of wild beasts, wisdom of wild beasts, and intelligence of wild human beasts. For that, there they are the fights, slaughter, tortures, in a world said to be of civilized ones, of educated ones, of learned ones, of good ones, of saints and pure ones. All of those things are dots created to deceive, that only exist by name and only apparently. You fight for anything, you strangle each other, you devour each other, and when on time of despair, you think against yourselves. The world is a chaos of misery. The human being is never satisfied with his life, he becomes an insatiable being due to being wild, poisoned, and his poison never allowing him to be satisfied. For humanity being like that, it is that the wars in the world are constant, it is that for anything one gets annoyed, for anything one gets worried. The human being is a delirious being because the beasts are unbalanced. It is sufficient to be an animal, it is sufficient to be a beast for being unbalanced. Where is the equilibrium of the world? Nowhere. And that is why everything is so transitory. What exists in the world is the great fantasy where the desire of some is to be better than others, richer, more beautiful, more knowledgeable, and that is why you study, seeking to better yourselves, but you are each time worse. That is what one sees in the world, that everyone is only getting worse. Then, what is the use to improve yourselves? No use. Because everything that is done with the intent of getting better makes everything to get worse, each time more. The more you study, the more wars, the more destruction, bigger suffering, and less the duration of all. And so, everything that exists in the world and the human beasts consider as a great veneration to everyone's improvement, it is only a fantasy, where you claim to be what you are not, seeking to get better and everything going backward. All of this is an ornament of bitterness, these are ornaments that the human beasts adopted to their own destruction. Yes, because beasts could not create good things, beasts can only create bad things. That is why everything and everyone in the world is going from worse to worse, to the ruin of ruins. The more you fight for goodness, the more you meet with the contrary. You made all these fantasies where hypocrisy shines, envy, jealousness, greed, falseness, intrigue, revenge, selfishness, presumption, and unconsciousness, trough where one can say that everything is a science of disgrace. Science where inhabit all of those ruins created by the human beasts, a bunch of disgraces that brings to the world all of the choking consequences, due to you being dominated by those fantasies, in illusion, deceived and drunken by those vests that produce such a great delay and you do not even notice it. All of that because you do not truly know yourselves, due to you being beasts that cannot be appeased or tamed, but only get used to the things. Since the human being is a wild beast, he is not persistent, has no equilibrium, and because he has no equilibrium, it is that the confusions are reigning among all in the world. In the world there never was equilibrium, due to everyone being a human beast and live in fantasies with all those titles and apparent precepts. You live a life of false ones, and for that, you feel one thing and pretend another, you are one thing and try to pretend another, because all in this life is false. Life itself is false, and that is why it is not firm. Life, because it is false, from one hour to another it finishes, because it is false, it has not warranties, and so everything that belongs to life is false. The false one lives always groping, always in experiences, always in doubt about everything, always suspicious of everything, at the same time he trusts something, because of this or that he already distrusts it. He lives like that, trusting and mistrusting, expecting this and that, mistrusting because of this and that, with this or that one. Life is undecided, there is great indecisiveness about everything in the world, because you do not know the coming days, and not knowing the future, you live in uncertainty, in a life which is false. Then, to condensate all of this, you used to say, all of you live under a self-suggestion. Life is an adventure. We are so adventurers that we live till we die. We die without wanting to die and without knowing when we will die. And you say further, life is worth nothing, from nothing it comes and to nothing it goes back. Life is everything and it is nothing, we are everything and we are nothing. However, you continue to valorize that nothing is an element of prestige, always reigning in a world of suffering. It is enough to be fantasy for everything being attractive, and what attracts makes you dizzy and drunken. And everyone lives drunken, thinking black for white, without having conviction about your own being, about the quality of the untamed beasts, who get used to things, but do not get appeased, and because you do not get appeased, you are never satisfied with what you have. If you got appeased, you would accommodate with what you had, but because you do not get appeased, you are insatiable like that and are never happy with what you have. The human beast is the worst of all beasts and of all animals. It is the most poisonous, the most evil, and for that, he depends on the other animals, and the other animals do not depend on the human beast. The human being lives in confusion. There are the good ones, the evil ones, and others who are true aberrations of nature, but in many points of view, all are equal. There is diversity in appearances, many kinds and many ways to present themselves, but it is suffice to be human, be an untamable wild beast. The world lives like that, with all these confusions, where the misfortunes always reign and everyone goes from bad to worse, each time more unbalanced, weaker in everything, and always dreaming with improvements and everything getting worse. The wild beasts grind their teeth to each other, in this gallows well created, well adorned by the outsiders, which are the own human beasts, living on taking of good and everything from bad to worse. Everyone in confusion and more confusion, suffering and more suffering, tortures and more tortures. Finally, in an avalanche of ruins, created, made, invented by the own human wild beasts. The goodness is only in name. Everything well fantasied, but always taking everything quicker into ruins. The wild beasts do not know what is good. The wild beasts do not know what is good. That is why you are well today, but bad tomorrow. Everything is appearance, and that is why everything is passing. Nothing is stable, and that is why you are insatiable, living only for the news. The human being is such, which, well specified, he is more than horrible. For humanity being like that, it is that all used to say, this nature is a phenomenon, our nature is aberrant, it is the aberration of that phenomenon. All animals have feelings, but feelings are poison, and that is why all animals get confused. They get confused because there is evil and good. Good apparently. A good that is not good, which is not solid, and for this, everything passes and there is the forgetfulness. The human beast cries today and tomorrow is laughing, today he feels this or that, with a touching feeling for everything, and tomorrow he does not remember it anymore, he forgot everything. A vagrant feeling, worthless, of moments, of hours or of days, conform being attacked by the poison. Thus, all of this becomes a disorderly nature, where you apparently give value to everything, but, in truth, forget the value of everything, and, for this, you forget the things. Once in a while you remember, living like that, frequently in disorder. Today you are angry, tomorrow contented, today you are crying, tomorrow you are happy, today you are indignant, tomorrow you are laughing and playing. Therefore, what is the value of all those temperaments of wild beasts? Absolutely none. Today you are in passion, in agony, hopeless about everything, tomorrow so different, so happy and content, hoping for this or that of good and well. That is what goes on with everyone in life, because you do not have the true knowledge of what life is, of what you are, the reason why you are like that, of what you were and why you stopped being what you were to become what you are. If you had the true rational knowledge, you would be very different and you would not be like this a long time. The wild beasts have two feelings, the electric and magnetic. The electric feeling produces happiness and the magnetic feeling produces hate, deep hatred about this or that. But both kill, according to the charge. The electric kills on the same way that kills the magnetic. So many die of happiness and so many die of sadness. Those are two forces that, when too much, are fatal. This is for you to notice how the being of wild beasts is so poisonous and how shocking the description of humanity is. So shocking and humiliating that the detailed and clear description will come further in other pieces, the continuation of this instruction. It is sufficient being originated from a nothing for being everything and, in truth, be nothing. But this description will put in its place all of this which is nothing. Apparently, all are good, some better than others, some with better skills than others, more polite and pure than others, but in truth everyone is the same. Apparently, you make yourselves different from one another, and in some points of view you are different, but in others you are the same. In your ways, in vices, in behavior and thoughts you are different. But in what concerns human beasts, you all are equal, only some with more temperament than others. In your ways and habits, each one has his own. In human feelings, everyone is the same. In the vices and ways, each one has his own. The knowledge of some is different from the others, but in the nature of beasts, all are of the same species. Each beast has its own knack, some inclined to do this, others inclined to do that. It is not about this point that everyone is equal, but about the point of the being itself. The being is one thing, and the ramifications are another. Among beasts there cannot be goodness. Apparently everyone talks about good and the evil always staying, day and night, always reigning. The more you talk about good, the more evil you see. The more you talk about in straight, the more crooked you see. The more you talk about ending the fights, the more you fight. The more you talk about peace, the more you war, the more you disorganize yourselves. Therefore, what the beasts speak is of no use. Today you say one thing, tomorrow you see something else. Today you say that you do not want, and tomorrow you are wanting. Today you say you do not do it, tomorrow you are doing it. Today you say that it is right, and tomorrow you think it is crooked. Today you say you are liking it, and tomorrow you do not like it anymore. Dirty ones, who do not know what they say are what they think. Pretentious ones, horrible ones, with their monk shines always unseen. Such is the life of the brave starched ones, with this gum you made to straighten everything out, and in the end everything getting from bad to worse, everything and everyone regressing, to start with the degeneration of the beings by the weakening of everything and everyone. All of this there is made of that well-adorned gum, well fantasied, which made everyone to become a hypocrite, even though you do not want to be like that. You are hypocrites because of that content that made everyone be unaware of why you are like that. The gum adorned everyone and everything in such a way that the illusion blinds, inebriates, combining so with the fantasy to deceive and suggest. In such a way, all are attracted, all suggested, all are unaware of your true natural, well brightened by the appearances, full of apparent brilliance, appearing and representing what you are not. After all, hypocrites, criminals, due to not knowing the true natural being, due to being unaware of their true natural being and as such, artificially living. What do you represent? The devils in life, diabolic ones. Art is of the shrewd one, and that is why it produces disasters, pain, annihilation, suffering, agony of the beings, slaughter, passion, jealousness, madness, diseases, pests, poisonings, disgraces of all sizes, envy, betray, greed, falsities, ambitions, intrigues, and all kinds of suffering, of all forms and sizes. After all, pure evilness, of the cruel monsters, producing the arts that are of the tempter one, the dirty one, the pig, the despised one, of Lucifer, of the monster. Therefore, everyone is living in the empire of demons. All true demons in life, in a world where evil is reigning and goodness only by name. Everyone in life looking for the goodness, and it becoming a disaster until the human being meets with death. All that is of evil always reigning, due to everything being a product of the arts, which poison with their gases, with their smoke, the atmosphere, which makes that all of these illness fall over the unconscious humans, beasts themselves. You are there, everyone inside a hurricane of ruins, being the world the kingdom of hell, made by the living beings themselves, which are the demons. Inconsolable labyrinth. All of this made by the unconscious beasts, by the untamable beasts, by the beasts that do not get appeased, but only get used to things, with their habits and their belongings. You speak about hell, you speak about devil. Many even fear the devil, not knowing that everyone is a devil, and that is why you are in a hell created by the true demons. There is no peace, there is no happiness. You speak of peace and happiness to fantasy the life, to pretend to be, an illness always flourishing, always sucked up by it, for accepting the appearances and the fantasies as brilliance, within an enchantment that the word welfare never reflected any goodness, because you have never found any good, and for this, everyone suffers, some more, others less, and many who appear not to suffer, but also suffer. Then, you used to say, the world is of suffering, and to help to fantasy the world still more, you created heaven, hell and the purgatory. The unconscious ones live like that, in this fighting despair, where shines the betrayer's fury, which you all are, with the mania of greatness that are only miseries and nothing else. The world clogged up like that, full of filthy ones that keep saying that the world cannot be helped anymore, that the ways in the world are crooked, and that everything goes from bad to worse. when disillusion comes and you get real about life, as it is herein written, and you do not have anything else to do, you ask for death and nothing more. You get real about life. You see that all of this is nothing more than misery. Then, you ask for death because you arrive to the conclusion that life only consists of suffering each time more until die. How many wise men of wise men come to an end, how many great ones and small ones have come to an end, ending their own life upon their disillusion. Others stick themselves in convents to wait for the best time. After all, in this life's conjecture, which is the ratiocination or the thought, the human being finds difficulties to free himself, and only here, in rational immunization, he finds the integral liberation and solid support. He, then, have more desire to live due to knowing where he came from, where he is going to, how he came and how he is going, how all of this was done, the deformation of the natural state, and the transformation of those deformed monsters to the natural state of where they came from. Then, the living being, for knowing all of that bit by bit, and being convinced of what is right, he has pleasure in living, due to knowing that he is immunized, or becoming immunized until becoming so, integrally, through the persistence in reading. He knows where he came from and where he is going to. He knows what no one knew before and the reason why others have the discouragement of living and end up doing crazy things. With rational immunization, the living being feels encouraged of living because he knows the reason of being living, the reason he lives, where he came from and where he is going to. He knows that as an immunized one, he is more than right, in the living being who is not aware of any of that. When he gets in disillusion with life, he does not want to live anymore and ends with it, for not finding the support that gives him the courage for living. Only with the support from the immunization, the living being is encouraged to live, because he knows that he is eternally saved, he knows how salvation is done, the universal redemption. Then, he feels happy, recognized of his great happiness, he has delight and pleasure in life, and he knows how to relate everything practically as it is, what it is and what it is not. The immunized one knows that everything transforms, and for that, he abandons the fantasy and accepts the right of rights, which is rational superior. He understands that the supposed one presented to the world by philosophies is deaf and mute, because it does not attend anyone. That this supposed one is only a word with more value than the others created by the ancient delayed ones, who were not aware of what they were doing and only took the opportunity of it to guide the believers. With rational immunization, everything will change, because the living being gets the true natural knowledge of the beings and of humanity. All mistakes of the world will disappear, everything will succumb, because the false prophets never proved or will be able to prove what they keep valuing as true parrots. The supposed one that they present is the supposition, for everything will lose its worth due to it not being more than a supposition. After all, everything will change, everything will enter in the rational form by the practical knowledge of relating and proving the reason of the existence of this world and outside of it. Outside of it, the rational part, the plane from up here, with its inhabitants. In this world, everything you know that exists of deformation, with rational immunization over it, it will return to its pure and equilibrated natural form. Rational immunization is done by the great rational focus, like the sun now shines on you, but in another way, and nature for having that focus another and much stronger vibration. The great rational focus will embrace the whole world and will dominate everything and everyone. Then, the living being asks, and can it be seen? Yes. With time all will see. You only need to be immunized to see it. Rational immunization will, therefore, be the redeemer that will illuminate everything and everyone. Everything in the world is approaching to its day, for everything will come its day, its time, and with time, the modifications. Everything will come a lot quicker than you think, due to the hecatombs in the world being so big, and each time everything getting worse, for the whole world being in agony to end this deformed phase and to enter a new phase, which is the natural one, the rational one. Everyone is in agony, in the end of this deformation. That is why I am here, rational superior, giving to the world what all beg for and need, the eternal salvation of all. Here I am to show the path of truth to those who, the more they ask for salvation, the more they meet with the disgrace and the destruction, the more they suffer, to be sure that everything they begged for was in vain. The proofs are there in the world to all of those who want to see them. It is worthless to implore, because the more you implore, the more destruction you see, the more discontentment one notices. The time for you to embrace rational immunization has come, for you to reach the salvation. The confusion in the world is great. There is no more trust in anyone. Everyone in disillusion with everything, the hopes extinguished, everything lost. If you still implore, it is because there is no other resource, you do not know another way to be attended. The philosophies losing their prestige, the believers losing the beliefs, and by the desperation they live in, they arrive to the conclusion that there is no one else to ask. If you ask to the supposed one from philosophies, you suffer. If you implore, you suffer. If you implore to the Almighty, you continue suffering, and everything in life always from bad to worse. When you think you will get better, you get even worse. Here is why the adventurer prophets get, each time more, into the ridiculous, ridiculing themselves until being called charlatans, because the more the world implores, the more it fills itself with ruins, the more the people suffer, the more humanity gets desperate. Then, the living being arrives to the conclusion that all are false prophets, deceivers and adventurers that inflict misfortune with benign words of welfare, and the welfare that all hope for, always to come, and the suffering swallowing up everyone, without regaining the welfare. It is about time for you to think how things in the world are and how everyone keeps begging for a new direction, because the way it is coming since long, there is no one who stands it anymore. There are those who say that the world is approaching to its end, that is why you implore for a new direction for this world. Here it is in your hands for it to end up in everyone's hands. And so, notice how everything arrives so naturally. Life will continue in that sludge until everyone has the rational writings in hands, for everyone to become immunized. This writing will travel the four corners of the world in a short time, because there are already in that world practical means for you to communicate among yourselves. For the world to know all of this, it is suffice to publish, and to publish is an instant. A bit is missing for the end of this period, because afterwards the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, until the 21st period will come. All of these books comprised with fine details about everything that is necessary to know to base everyone, to confirm and straighten everyone, within this real lemma. After the 21st, you will have also infinity of fascicles about the superior writing of the fecund rational journey, about all points of view of the stunning and marvelous enchainment of the angelical writing, virtues that never get erased from the eternal rational mount. This is the basic principle for the equilibrium of the primitive collaborators to their own good, to the fraternal good, and to the very brilliant rational salvation. Those who already belong to rational immunization do not need to think about anything, because they are free of everything evil and of everything bad. Everything of good coming to them, reaching everything of good. Getting a comfort relative to the needs, in a solid and accelerated pace toward goodness, always progressing, flourishing, as a rational reward due to the fruits they got as primitive collaborators toward their own good. Rational superior, at everything's and everyone's forehead, day and night, night and day, helping everyone who deserves or not, as long as they steadfastly do their part to aggrandize themselves. Rational superior, with everything in hands to serve you all with everything you wish and much beyond. There are many living beings that, due to their bad interpretation, think that I am a wild beast or a usurer, and that is why they keep in doubt. Do you think I deserve it? Do you think I will deserve it like the others? Whether you deserve it or not, since you do your part, it is enough, it is what is enough for me. All deserve it, and that is why the eternal salvation is for everyone, without exception, as long as you do your part to become immunized, getting the knowledge of the immunization through this reading. For everything it is necessary time, and the living being, with time, with the continuation of the reading, will get the immunization, keeping everything that is read bit by bit to know everything and to be able to explain, tell and historize. There are the negligent ones, who want in a short time to know everything. They cannot. It is with time and constancy that everything is going to be recorded bit by bit, multiplying more and more in the living being's knowledge, and he, with time, getting the immunization, due to being more perfect, more equilibrated, within the rational limit.